Okay, I think it's actually recording. So I've been having issues not remembering to record or all kinds of fun stuff with that. But I'm excited you guys are on, and are you guys having a good week so far?
Mhm.
Good, good. I know it's looking good. This is our natural low volume week. So it's typically our lowest week of the month, but you guys are cranking it out. We actually have more in now than we did last week at this time of the week on our low week. So exciting times. So I'm really excited about how it's all coming together. So great job, you guys. And so this tonight, of course, every Thursday, we're going to talk a little bit more about mindset type of things, and every Tuesday a little bit more about skill sets. Just because I feel like the mindset of the business, hey Tammy, I think that the mindset of our business is probably, it just trumps the skill part. I think that I was telling Kayla this one day, she was like, but Amy, what do I say? And I'm like, literally, if you said watermelon, 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 and you were totally passionate about it, they'll do whatever you want them to do. I'm like, it's just not about what you say. It's about your posturing and your mindset and all of that type of thing. And so tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about self-belief. And this is a topic that is really hits home for me, because I think that the wrinkles that I have on my forehead are from my lack of self-belief. Like, in fact, I had like this thing right here on my nose that I got it fixed because like I was like, my nose was always like creased, like something was wrong with me. And it was just from the stress of me not believing in myself and just always letting other people push me around, or like instead of believing in me, having all these doubts and getting in non-confident places. And I look at you guys and you all look so confident, and you very well probably are. Me, I looked confident as the day was long, and I struggled with it, where every night I just felt like, can I do this? And I just continuously had this secret need for someone to pump me up, or someone to tell me I was good, or someone to tell me I was awesome. And as long as I had that, I had my juice, if that makes sense. As long as that somebody was there saying, you can do it, I believe in you, I had this juice that kept me going. But the minute that was gone and there wasn't someone there like inflating me, I would go back and be in all these places of doubt. And it really affected my business. It impacted it in a horrible way. And so I'll kind of paint this picture for you. I came from an environment growing up where my mom was very positive. She was entrepreneurial. She would say to me, you can have anything, you can be anything, you can do anything. And it was just a continuous pump up of my life and who I was. I would walk in and she would say, you're pretty. And I would just receive it. It was like my life was based upon my mom pumping me up. And then I got married, and my husband, of course, is amazing at making me feel like I'm great. And then I got a job at an elementary school where the principal loved me. He pumped me up. I just was always riding on people pumping me up. And it literally was to the point that I was also people pleasing. And what I mean by that is I would get away from who I was, or do things that I didn't really want to do in order to get that affirmation from outside of myself. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but I would dress a certain way, say certain things, go certain places, do what I needed to do in order to get that atta girl and just that enough juice to go a little further. And so then I got into my last network marketing company, and I found myself surrounded with a dozen older women. And they literally just pump me up even more juice, more juice, more juice. And so I would do things they wanted me to do in order to hear them say great job. And in that company, we would get prizes, and I had to have the prize because I needed the recognition, because I needed that outside juice. To look at me, you would not know it. To look at me, you would think Amy is so confident. And so when I left that business, what happened was I suddenly found myself without all of that. My mom would still, my mom's still positive. My husband was still positive, but I suddenly found myself in a place where everywhere around me, there were people complaining about me, saying negative things about me. You'll never make it. You're not going to do it. What's wrong with you? Like, words were attached to me like unethical, no integrity, you're too old to do this again. What were you thinking? Just all of these different jabs, like death by a paper cut, like the paper cuts of people's words just coming at me every second. And so I came out of that bubble where I was always getting my juice into this place where there was no juice. And what happened was this. I got to the point where I didn't know what to do. I was telling Zach this the other day, I can remember this like it was yesterday, laying on the leg press machine. And what I want you guys to remember is I had made well over $1 million in network marketing, probably 2 million. I just never kept track of it. Maybe more than that. I don't know. I've been earning well over 6 figures since I was 25 years old. And so I've had success. But I'm laying on the leg press machine and I'm thinking the number one company in the United States sued me. They wrote blogs about me. Everybody hates me. I can't lead. What's wrong with me? And I'm getting to this place of total self-doubt, like terrible. And I'm replaying it over and over again in my mind. Just as much as when people juiced me up by what they said, when they said negative things and I got myself into that place, it was the opposite, where it pulled me down and pulled me down and pulled me down, because my emotions and who I was and my self-worth was dependent upon what other people believed of me. So if they loved me, I'm good. If they hated me, I suck. So I'm sitting on this leg press machine. I'm just trying to give you guys the background. I'm laying on the leg press machine and I get a phone call from Hillary. And she said, "What are you going to do?" And I started crying and I'm like, I don't know. I can't do this anymore. I've lost my touch. I can't lead. I've been stuck at the same place forever. I should have never changed companies. What was I thinking? I'm just like dumping all this stuff out at her, just mad. And, I'm like, I'm worthless. I can't do this. And I'm crying. And she's like, "Well, I don't know how to help you. You need to add 10 people. And I'm like thinking, if I could add 10 people, I would have added 10 people 6 weeks ago. Like, how do I add 10 people? Like, I can't even add one person. Like, I can't even get myself to take the shake, let alone get 10 people to take the shake. What? I'm like in this funk. So then she calls Kathy Cooper and is like, "I think Amy's having a nervous breakdown." So Kathy calls me on the phone and she's like, she gave me juice. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, because remember, I'm addicted to the juice. "You can do it. I believe in you." So I don't know. I took that juice and I ran enough. But somehow I got to the point, and I think that it was just, I started just researching myself. I just thought, I'm going to take control of how I feel, because this cannot be my skill. Because how could have I lost every single piece of my skill? Like, there has to be something more. So I start praying. I start pumping my head full of word, and I get to the scripture and I start reading and I start understanding, oh my goodness, this is what's happened. The enemy has somehow in the past 5 years used all of these paper cuts, these words, the setbacks, the you can't do it, what's wrong with you. Somehow all and my overwhelming need to please people and my incapability to please anyone was where it was at, to get me to the point that I have no self-belief. Like, I do not believe that I can do anything. So that was where I was at. And so now in my life, I have this passion because I'm like, okay, people need to understand, we need to understand in this business that you need to believe in yourself. You need to have belief that you can do it. You don't need anything external. Your belief is going to become is internally from you. And it is okay to be confident. I believe in all of you, but you don't need my belief. You don't need anyone's belief. You need belief in yourself. And so if you don't have belief in yourself, if you don't have belief in yourself, you're not even you. What happens is every person that comes your way, you get on their train and you're their puppet and their puppet and their puppet and their puppet. And somewhere in there, you lose what God called you to be. So is it a trap from the enemy? Absolutely. Because when you were born, or before you were even born, God marked you already. He put this flavor on your life of this is what you're supposed to do. And these are the people you're supposed to touch. And there are people in this world that need you to be you because only you can help them. And what happens is when your self-belief gets destroyed, you're no longer you. You can't help anybody. And so, yeah, is it from the pit? It's absolutely from the pit. And so you have to recognize that, and you have to build up your belief. I used to think it was a sin. I thought self-belief was a sin because I had it confused with pride. And so I would be like, well, if I'm cocky, then that's against the Bible. No way. God needs us to believe that we can ultimately be dynamic, that we can be awesome, that we are awesome. God needs us to believe that because we have to be confident to walk out his will. Because what's going to happen in every step of the way, especially because we have huge calls, huge vision, every single step of the way, there's always going to be somebody or something trying to snag it, take it. And if you don't have belief in yourself, you're going to fall every single time. And so when you think about David and Goliath, I mean, when I was kind of going through my self-discovery, I was really looking at that. And whenever David was getting ready to fight Goliath, he's like, I already killed a lion. I already killed a bear. I'm going to kill you for my God. And it wasn't like David was like, had any doubt, like it was going to happen. But if he would have went in there going, oh my gosh, how am I going to kill a giant? What's going to happen? Like it would have never happened. And so did God give him the power? Absolutely. But he had to have the self-belief in order to move forward and make it happen. So how do you fuel up your self-belief? How can you go from a place, and maybe you guys are all totally confident and I'm just like saying this and that's okay, I'll just say it anyway. But how do you go from like this place of faking your confidence to really having it? Because I don't believe in the statement, fake it until you make it. I don't believe in that. I think it's impossible for me to fake anything. Like if I don't have it, I don't have it. And if I've got it, I've got it, you know? And so how do you develop it? How do you make it happen? And I think the first thing that you've got to do, which we've already touched on this a little bit, is you have to realize who you are. And you have to understand that you really do have a call. And it's not about you. I mean, we think it's about us. We're like, oh yeah, well, I have this goal and I have this dream. Yeah, we do. But it's not about you. It's about who you're going to touch. It's about who you're going to reach. And when you don't walk out in it, there's people that you leave hanging in limbo because you chose not to do it. And so we have responsibility. And I think whenever we realize that we're stamped with something, the visions that we have, the dream that we have, what we want, that desire to be free, all of those things, it's not about you. Not one iota about you. It's about what it's going to do for the kingdom, what it's going to do for other people, how it's going to glorify God whenever you walk into it. And so you've got to know who you are. I mean, that's your place. Who are you? Who are you? And so when you begin to know who you are and recognize it and talk about it, immediately you're going to begin to feel a little bit of power. But you have to be proactive in that. So realize who you are. Realize it. The next thing that you've got to know is this. And I was talking with Shalane about this the other day, and I feel like every day I walk more and more in this. But you have to know and believe that you have overcoming power in you. And I love telling people this. I love saying it 5 million times a day because I love ticking Satan off. I just love it because you have to know that you have the overcoming power already in you. I think so many times, and I'm all about prayer. When I I was praying today, I'll have to tell you about what happened when I prayed today. But I'm all about prayer. I pray. I believe in the power of prayer. I think it's awesome, and it is awesome. It's the best thing ever. I mean, it is. But this is the deal. So many times we say, "Oh God, help me. God, help my business." I mean, that's what I was doing. And when I was laying on the leg press machine, I had snot running out my nose. I was wiping it on my Adidas hoodie. I was lifting it up and blowing it. I mean, what is that going to do? Does that make sense? What is that going to do? God's not even moved by that. If God would have been moved by my snot, he would have fixed it then. He wasn't moved by my snot. He's moved by my faith. He's moved by me going, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. And that's because we already have the power. I mean, seriously, Jesus dies on the cross and then God's like, you have power to do what Jesus did here on the earth. And so I think the minute that we realize that, we're like, wait a minute. If I have that power and I'm living in doubt, or I'm living in fear, or I'm living below what I could be doing, then what's happened is I'm not having the faith that I already have the power in myself. I think we spend a lot of time praying for God to fix something when we already know what we need to do, and we just need to step out and get that faith, get that belief, and go do it. And so you already have that power. And so in working that, this is what I do personally. So if I already have power, so God says to us that if we are praying to him and we are connected to him and our hearts are right, we are seeking him, that he actually puts the desires in our heart, meaning that he gives us those desires that we have. And so if you are wanting to be free and you want to give and you want to go and you want to do and you want to be audacious, that was given to you, right? That was given to you. I will tell you, there are people all over this nation right now that are not on a Zoom call listening to this. God didn't say, oh, you should make lots of money in Isagenix so you could have time freedom. He's telling them, to go invent a new t-shirt that makes you smells good when you sweat. I have no idea. He's giving them some other idea. And yet we are here on purpose. It can't be by accident. It can't be. And so if you already have that dream, you've got to think, okay, well, this is God-given. I have it. And so now I have to walk it out. So for me, I sit down and I think, okay, what is it, God? What do I want? What makes me feel peaceful? When I think about it, what makes me feel like, oh, that is just such a relief? What drives me? What makes me feel enthusiastic? I begin to write down those things and call them in. So today, I was just talking to you guys. I was going to tell you guys this. So today, I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I'm writing to God what I want. So I'm writing, I want to build my business internationally. So I'm praying, God, bless my business, help me to build it internationally. But what I change is this. I believe that God gave me that dream. And so now if I want my faith to work, I have to call it out. You have to call those things that are not as they are. And so I began to say to God, or I began to say out loud to God, but out loud using my faith, I believe that you are sending me amazing people from all over this world. I believe that there are going to be people that come onto my team that are smarter than me. I believe that there are people on my team that have more energy than me. I believe that there are people on my team that are going to help me organize my mess. And I thank you that you're sending them into my life. So I'm speaking that out. And look out at my patio table and I'm like, that thing is so ugly. And I go, I believe that you are going to provide me and give me an amazing idea for a patio table because my patio table is ugly. So I start like calling those things out that I want. Does that make sense? And speaking it. And if I am lying, I'm fine. I'll read this to you right now. I'm going to read this message to you. I said that today. I get this message from Imelda on WhatsApp in Indonesia. How do I buy it, Amy? You know what? Last night I dreamt of the products has reached my house. Pretty cool, right? And so what are you saying? Are you calling it in? You might, I mean, if you've never heard this, you might be like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. Try it. Try it because it's activating your faith. You have that power. And so you want to call it in. This is the other thing that you want to do is quit whining about your problems. So if you're not where you want to be and everybody on your team whines and sucks a pacifier and you are miserable and you don't have enough time or those things are going on, speak to your problem. So if there's somebody negative in your house, I'm not saying speak to the negative person, but speak it out loud. So I say, I mean, I'll just be honest with you guys, coming out of everything I've been through financially, I feel like I'm 10 years behind because of the lawsuit. Where most people would be super comfortable making the income I'm making, I need to make $200,000 a year more than most people. And so I literally am like, I speak to those finances. You have, that bill, you have no room here. You're out of here. I speak to my problem. So if you are having, maybe your marriage is screwed up. So I speak to the negative energy that's in my house. I speak to, you have no room here. Get out. I have power over you. So begin to speak those things out against the things that are holding you back. Because you guys, that's building your self-belief. It's understanding that you have power over your circumstance. And that's what you got to get. But what happens a lot of times to a lot of people is things start coming our way and we're doubtful and we forget we have power and we begin to be affected by what other people think and by what other people think and what other people say. And suddenly we're shrunk down and there's no glory in that. And you have control over it, but you have to walk it out. You have to work it out. Now, the next thing in this is self-belief is you can't compare. You cannot compare yourself to anybody else. It is never good, never good. And it is always a temptation. It's from the pit. The minute, if something feels deep, dark, it makes you get this heaviness, it's from the pit, and you need to recognize that. So anytime I start comparing myself, I'll like get this heavy feeling, and I'm like, wait a minute. I do not have to compare myself. That is from the pit. You don't need to do that. Speak to it. I no longer compare myself to anybody. I run my own race. And I don't know exactly where my race is always going, but I know that it's going to be awesome. And I know that it's going to be the best race for me. And I love my race better than anybody else's because it's mine and I own it. So speak those things out. And so when you begin to compare yourself, you've got to understand that can only bring doubt. That can only bring negativity. And it's not even, I'm not even talking about Isagenix. I'm talking about whatever. You can't compare yourself to anybody, anytime, anywhere, because your journey is different. Your destiny is different. Your flavor is different. You are where you're at all times on purpose to do a work. And if you hate it there, you better be figuring out what your work is or what you're trying to learn so you can get past there. Don't be there complaining. Like there's a statement that says, when you're in hell, if you find yourself in hell, do not stop and take a picture, right? And so don't do that. So you start feeling jealous, you start comparing, you recognize what it is. Anytime you're comparing yourself, it's never healthy, because it's either going to make you feel like you're doing really good. Oh, I'm beating her. I'm better than her. I'm ahead. Well, that there's no glory in that, because that's making you settle. Or you're like, whoa, what happened there? What's wrong with me? There's nothing in that, because that's taking you back to that dark place. And so you can't do that. Okay, this is the next thing. And I already talked about this, so I don't know why I put it again, but I'm going to say it again. The next thing is that you want to pray. And I know this is kind of turning into church TV. Sorry about that. You want to pray. And when I say pray, I think that when you're in a position and like you are as leaders and moving up, I think that anytime you're in that position, there's more criticism. You're in a little bit more of a glass aquarium. People are watching you move up, calling you out on things. Whereas if you're just even, steady, struggling a little bit, they're not saying much, because you're like right with them. You start getting on with it, and God starts showing you some favor in your life, and you start getting blessed, you start getting some criticism, and you start feeling it. And so what you've got to do is you have to pray. And I think that your prayer, when I say pray, I mean talk to God. I mean, I think so many people think, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Anyway, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. But this is the deal. Like, you literally can be like, God, did you just hear what she said to me? Because that really messed with my head. And I know that I've got to get it straight. Can you help me figure that out? That's what I'm talking about prayer. Like talking to him like he's right in the room, and then listening. I think we talk so much, and we whine and we complain and we pray, oh God, please. And I think if we just talk to him like he seriously is our dad, then what happens is he begins to answer, and it's like little nudges where you're like, oh, wait a minute. I shouldn't do that, or I should do that, or I should call this person. And, I need to keep my mouth shut in this instance, or maybe I need to say something in this instance. And I think when you're doing that, it's increasing your self-belief, because it's putting you in combat so that you are on the offense and not on the defense. I'm rarely caught on the defense, meaning that I'm staying prayed up, I'm staying believed up, so that when something happens to me, it usually doesn't catch me out of the blue, because I'm always staying prayed up and working on that. So you want to really do that. And also your self-belief is this: do your best and then let the rest go. That's it. All you can do is your best. That's it. At the end of the day, you lay down in your bed and you think, did I do my very best today? And that's enough. It doesn't need to be any more than that, because God can take that. The cool thing is he can move you where you're struggling and it's looking like you're down and you're behind and you're out and you don't know. He can take you and he can move you in 1 nanosecond from that place to ahead of everybody else. And all that's required of you is your best. And if it was less than your best that day, it's all right. We mess up. Okay, I know that wasn't my best. I have a new chance tomorrow. You get up and you go again. But what happens is, in self-belief, the enemy, he's called literally he's called the accuser. Like, he comes and he tries to accuse you. I know what you did. I know what you said. You're not good enough. Blah, blah, blah. You said too much. You didn't say enough. I heard what you said about that person. They're going to find out. Yada, yada. The accuser, that you have to shut that down, and you just have to know at night, I'm doing my best. And I'm leaving the rest to God. I'm moving forward. You have to know that you can't please all the people all the time. All right, this is the last thing. You have to believe, you have to know this in self-belief. What you do, the thing that is going to turn your business, turn your life is almost every time going to come through a thought, a supernatural thought. A thought is going to come into your mind, a creative idea. I should call this person. Maybe it's not even I should call this person. Maybe it's I should do this thing. I should start this. I need to take this opportunity. This thought's going to come into your mind and you're going to know it. Like some of you right now, I had this mentor that used to tell me, if you can sit down and take out a blank piece of paper and I want you to write down from your own mind. Don't ask me anymore what to do. Don't ask me what to do. I want you to sit down and I want you to take out a blank piece of paper and I want you to think about what 10 things have you not done that if you did do could turn your life around. What are they? And she was like, when you sit down and you write that out, you're going to find ideas. There are going to be ideas that are in there that if you did them, they would take your business very, very far. This is what I know. I want to say this is what I think, but it's not even I think. This is what I know. I know every single one of you guys have supernatural creative ideas in your mind. But this is where the self-belief has to come in. You have to believe in yourself enough to know that if you move on them, they will move. Your next step is in your mind. It's not in my mind. All day long, I can tell you my ideas, and I want to do that. I want to tell you, I want you to tell me, I want to have that communication, but your idea is in your mind. It's not in mine. It's personal, and it's creative. And this is the deal. Your self-belief has to believe this. What would make anybody else's idea any more creative or any more better than yours? Not a thing. The only difference is this, is that some people have enough self-belief and decision that they move on it. And so that's what you've got to do. You've got to move on it. You've got to believe it and you've got to move on it. And what you're going to find is when you start stepping into that power and you start taking control, building your belief, you're going to go light years ahead. You don't need anyone else's belief in you. The crazy thing is this too. I'm going to say this. We sometimes will call people, okay, and no, I love when you call me. So I'm not saying don't call me, especially you guys. Like when you call, I have a big smile. But sometimes we already know what to do. Like God's given us the wisdom of what to do and we know it. And we'll call people with less capability of making a decision and ask them what to do instead of doing what we already know what to do. And what happens at that point is you're putting your destiny and your dream in their hand when God's already equipped you, already gave you the idea. It's logos, a supernatural idea or word from God that will turn your life around. You already have it. And so you've got to step into that power. I hope that helps you guys and it's not too like churchy, but that's what we have for Thursday. And so I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week. And if you need anything at all, just holler. All right, guys. All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Amy.
Uh-huh.
Bye, Amy.
Bye, guys.